May the 25th. I'll start from 2017 and then go to 2015. We'll take it from there. Some things should not happen, but they do. Pauline Hanson in a Senate committee asking questions regarding a halal slaughtering practice. Australian standards have it that the animal is stunned before being slaughtered. Animal activists are teaming up with anti-Muslim activists to take out animal trade. Otherwise, a bad practice abattoir would be reported and the well-run industry would operate at peak efficiency. But politicians panic or get drunk. Hank Johnson used a congressional hearing to ask a U.S. serviceman if Guam would capsize from the number of serving U.S. troops there. He later claimed he was joking, but the serviceman answered questions appropriately, and the press have aided Johnson, who now has an enviable efficiency rating as a congressman. Hanson asked if the animals were alive before being killed. She had meant stunned. The press are not going to come to the aid of Pauline, and the experts are replying we're not as respectful of Pauline as the U.S. soldier was of Johnson. On this day, in 567 BC, Servius Tullius, the king of Rome, celebrated a triumph for his victory over the Etruscans. Militarily, the victory was complete. Culturally, the Romans would use the Etruscan public service and arts faculties forever after. 240 BC, first recorded perihelion passage of Halley's Comet, recorded in China in the chronicle records of the Grand Historian. In 1085, Alfonso VI of Castile took Toledo, Spain, back from the Moors. In 1521, the Diet of Worms ended when Charles V, Holy Roman Emperor, issued the Edict of Worms, declaring Martin Luther an outlaw. In 1644, Ming General Wu Senghui formed an alliance with the invading Manchus and opened the gates of the Great Wall of China at Shanuguan Pass, letting the Manchus through towards the capital Beijing. In 1659, Richard Cromwell resigned as Lord Protector of England, following the restoration of the Long Parliament, beginning a second brief period of Republican government called the Commonwealth of England. 1738, a treaty between Pennsylvania and Maryland ended the Conjunctural War with settlement of a boundary dispute and exchange of prisoners. A result was the formation of the Mason-Dixon line. In 1878, Gilbert and Sullivan's comic opera HMS Pinafore opened at the Opera Comique in London. 1895, the playwright, poet, novelist Oscar Wilde was convicted of committing acts of gross indecency with other male persons and sentenced to serve 2 years in prison. In 1925, the Scopes trial, John T. Scopes was indicted for teaching Charles Darwin's theory of evolution in Tennessee. There was more to the trial than evolution. There was also eugenics and racial purity. The subsequent success for either side was limited. It was a Christian fundamentalist versus Christian progressives on a non-issue that has been legislated for in ignorance by people who thought evolution opposed the Bible. In 1935, Jesse Owens of Ohio State University broke 3 world records and tied a 4th at the Big Ten Conference Track and Field Championships in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Jesse Owens was a great man who deserved better support from his president, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. 1961, the Apollo program, the U.S. President John F. Kennedy announced before a special joint session of the Congress his goal to initiate a project to put a man on the moon before the end of the decade. In 1979, Etan Patz, who was 6 years old, disappeared from the street just 2 blocks away from his home in New York City, prompting an international search for the child and causing the U.S. President Ronald Reagan to designate May the 25th as National Missing Children's Day in 1983. In 2015, a mistrial was declared on a possible prosecution. In 2017, the killer was sentenced to life with the possibility of parole in 25 years.